Welcome to another episode of Stack Rack TV. Stack Rack Boxing, whatever you want to call it. You dig what I'm saying? Where we don't do nothing on this channel but talk boxing, talk a little bit of shit sometimes, but for the most part, we just Mac Jack, Slack Jack, and Jack. You dig what I'm saying? Today, we got a big topic right now in the 140-pound division. Keyshawn Davis and Jamaine Ortiz. Keyshawn just moving up to 140, got a lot to prove. In his first fight, I commend him for taking on such a tough challenge like this. Right now, a veteran at the division right now, fought big name guys, Teofimo Lopez, Vasily Lomachenko, and he's coming off a few wins, not the best guys, but he has been active. Keyshawn Davis, on the other hand, coming into this fight with a lot of momentum. Beautiful performance against Barinchik, beautiful performance against Limos, but Jamaine Ortiz is coming into this fight to steal the show. A win over Keyshawn Davis, that's going to automatically call for a big name at 140, maybe even a fight between Shakur Stevenson. So this is a fight where Jamaine Ortiz has a lot to gain also. Obviously, he's coming up short in a lot of those big fights, that he could have edged it out if he put his foot on the gas a little bit more. But I feel like coming into this fight, he understands that he needs to go in there and leave it all on the line, right? They don't call him the technician for no reason. He's a guy that knows how to use the real estate in the ring. He's a guy who knows how to work behind his jab, throw combinations, and he's very crafty on the inside. Don't forget that he's a southpaw as well. That adds an additional level of difficulty in itself. On the other hand, we got Keyshawn Davis, a guy who's pushing the pace, a guy who's looking to be aggressive. He's looking to counterpunch on the inside. He's looking to do damage on the inside. And like I said before, the best Keyshawn Davis is going to be hard for anybody to beat, because not only is he tall for the weight class, not only is his arms long, but he got the power behind all of those attributes. Anybody getting in there with Keyshawn Davis is going to be a tough night. He brings a lot of athleticism to the ring. He brings a lot of talent to the ring, skill, IQ. He works with a lot of guys behind the scenes to get him right. Terrence Crawford, Shakur Stevenson, worked with Richardson Hitchens before. He has everything it takes to go in there and dismiss a guy like Jamaine Ortiz. But, we can't just say that, because Jamaine Ortiz has a style of fighting where it could be difficult for a guy like Keyshawn Davis to catch up to him. Now, do I see it that way? No. I believe that Keyshawn Davis can catch up to him and manipulate him on the inside, because Jamaine Ortiz is defensively irresponsible on the inside sometimes. And I can see a guy like Keyshawn Davis taking advantage of that. Jamaine Ortiz is going to have to come into this fight in tip-top shape, tip-top conditioning, to even be able to make this fight competitive. What we've seen in Jamaine Ortiz's previous fights, is that once he runs out of gas, his plan goes out the window. And Keyshawn Davis is not the guy that you want to get in there with and not have a plan B or a plan C, because it can get dangerous. It could get ugly. And like I said before, I know that Jamaine Ortiz right now, his back against the wall. He's willing to do anything it takes to get this W. But, one of the main concerns I have, especially as far as picking him as a winner in this fight, is that once he runs out of steam, his strategy goes out the window, and he tends to want to fight on the inside a little more than he should. I see Keyshawn Davis capitalizing on that with his accuracy and his precision. And that's why I will ultimately say, a late round stoppage for Keyshawn Davis.